3 days ago, he was Israel's champion. The giant killer. The people's hero. The king's own son-in-law. Tonight, he is a shadow slipping through the darkness alone, with no weapon, no home, and no one left he can fully trust. His name is David. And the same throne that once celebrated him now wants him dead. The gates of Gibeah disappear behind him into the night. No soldiers walk beside him. No servants wait to serve him. Just hours ago, David held a position no other man in Israel could rival. Commander over 1,000 men. Beloved by the people. Married into the royal family itself. Now he has nothing but the clothes on his back and the sound of his own footsteps on the cold ground. He cannot go home. His house is being watched. He cannot return to the palace, because the throne room that once welcomed him now hides men waiting to kill him on the king's command. Somewhere behind him, in a city that used to feel safe, King Saul is hunting the very man he once called family. For the first time in his life, David is completely alone. No army behind him. No brothers beside him. No crown protecting him. Just a young man walking into the darkness, uncertain if he will live to see the sunrise. The road ahead is empty. No torches. No friendly voices. Only the sound of wind moving through the hills, and the pounding of his own heart. Every distant noise makes him flinch. Every shadow could be a soldier sent to end his life. This is the same young man who once walked toward a giant without a single moment of hesitation. The same man who stood on a battlefield facing a warrior twice his size and felt no fear at all. But tonight, in the emptiness of the open road, David is afraid in a way he has never been afraid before. Not of a monster. Not of an army. But of his own king. David has to think. He has to eat. He has to find a weapon. And more than anything, he needs somewhere, anywhere, that still feels safe. His feet carry him toward Nob, a quiet town where the priests of the Lord serve at the tabernacle. If there is any place left where he might find help, it is here. But even this is a risk. Word travels fast in Israel. And David has no way of knowing who might already be watching. When David reaches the town, the priest Ahimelech comes out to meet him, and freezes. Something is wrong. David is alone. No escort. No guards. No soldiers trailing behind him, the way a king's commander should always travel. Nob is a quiet town, built around worship, not warfare. It is not used to visitors arriving without warning, especially not visitors as important as the king's own son-in-law. Ahimelech's voice trembles as he asks the question hanging in the air. Why are you alone? Why is no one with you? David cannot tell him the truth. Not the whole truth. Not that Saul wants him dead. Not that he is running for his life. If word spreads that the king's own son-in-law has become a fugitive, it could put everyone in this town in danger. So David does something he has never had to do before. He lies. He tells Ahimelech that he is on a secret mission for the king, and that his men are waiting for him nearby. It is not the truth. But right now, the truth could get people killed. Ahimelech has no reason to suspect that the man standing in front of him, the celebrated warrior who once faced Goliath without fear, is now desperate, hungry, and completely alone. David asks for food. Anything at all. Even a few loaves of bread would be enough. But there is a problem. The only bread inside the tabernacle is the sacred bread of the presence, holy bread set apart for the priests alone. It is not meant for ordinary men. Ahimelech hesitates. This bread is holy. But the man standing in front of him looks like he hasn't eaten in days. In the end, compassion wins out. Ahimelech gives David the consecrated bread meant only for those who serve in purity before the Lord. David eats. For a brief moment, inside the quiet halls of Nob, the hunted man finds a small piece of mercy. A stranger's kindness, offered to a man who cannot even explain why he needs it. But David is not the only one watching that day. Standing nearby, silent and unnoticed, is a man named Doeg, an Edomite, chief of Saul's shepherds. He says nothing. He does nothing. He simply watches. And somewhere in the back of David's mind, a quiet unease stirs. A feeling that even in a sacred place, no shadow is completely safe. There is still one more problem. David has no weapon. He fled Gibeah with nothing, not even a blade to protect himself. He turns to Ahimelech. Do you have a spear or a sword? I left in such urgency, I brought nothing with me. Ahimelech's answer stops David in his tracks. There is only one sword here. The sword of Goliath, the Philistine you killed in the valley of Elah. It is wrapped in cloth behind the ephod. If you want it, take it. There is no other blade in this place. For a moment, David says nothing. The sword of the giant. David remembers that day well. The roar of two armies facing each other across the valley. The smooth stones he chose from the riverbed. The giant who mocked him and underestimated him completely. David had walked onto that battlefield with nothing but a sling and unshakable faith, and he had walked off it as a legend. The same blade that once belonged to the monster David faced with nothing but a sling and total faith in God is now the only weapon standing between David and the danger chasing him. There is none like it, David says quietly. Give it to me. He straps the massive blade to his side. It feels different this time. Heavier. Not because of its size, but because of what it represents. Once, this sword was proof of what God could do through an unarmed shepherd boy who refused to be afraid. Now, it is a survival tool for a hunted man running for his life. The victory of yesterday has become the desperation of today. David cannot stay in Nob. Saul's reach extends across all of Israel, and nowhere inside his own nation feels safe anymore. Every road leads to the same danger. Every village, every field, every town belongs to a kingdom that now wants him dead. So David makes a desperate decision. He turns toward Gath, a Philistine city. Enemy territory. The very homeland of the giant he once destroyed. It should be the last place on earth Saul would think to search for him. But it is also the last place on earth David should ever dare to go. The walls of Gath rise higher than anything in Nob. Foreign voices fill the streets. Foreign gods watch from foreign temples. And somewhere inside this city, David is carrying the sword of the very champion these people once worshipped as unbeatable. The moment David enters the city, whispers begin. The servants of King Achish recognize him almost instantly. This is not just any Israelite wandering into Philistine territory. This is David. The same David the people used to sing about in the streets of Israel, the young warrior credited with defeating tens of thousands in battle. Servants lean toward each other, whispering his name like a discovery too dangerous to say aloud. Some stare at him with open hatred. Others simply stare, trying to understand how the man who killed their champion is now standing helpless inside their own city. To the Philistines, David is not a refugee looking for shelter. He is the man who killed their greatest champion. A threat that has now walked willingly into their hands. They bring him straight to King Achish. And in that moment, David understands the full weight of his mistake. He has escaped one king who wants him dead, only to walk directly into the presence of another. Guards line the walls of Achish's court. Every eye in the room turns toward the Hebrew who has just been dragged in, still unsure whether he is a curiosity, a trophy, or a threat. There is no escape. No army to defend him. No sling in his hand. No armor on his body. Just David, standing alone in front of a Philistine king who has every reason in the world to end his life right there. So David does the only thing left to do. He does not fight. He does not run. He breaks. He lets his body go wild. He claws at the doors of the gate like a man who has lost his mind. He lets saliva fall down into his beard. His eyes lose focus. His movements turn erratic and unpredictable. He mumbles sounds that mean nothing. He stumbles as though his own legs no longer belong to him. To everyone watching, the great warrior of Israel suddenly looks broken. Harmless. Not worth the trouble. It is not madness. It is survival. Achish stares at him with disgust. "Look at this man," he says to his servants. "Is he insane? Why would you bring him to me? Do I not have enough madmen in my own kingdom already? Get him out of my sight." The plan works. David is dismissed, not as a threat, but as a lunatic beneath anyone's concern. And just like that, the same courage that once brought down a giant in front of two armies now saves David's life through humiliation instead of triumph. David leaves Gath as fast as he can, disappearing into the wilderness before anyone changes their mind. For now, he is safe. But safety, for David, never seems to last very long. He finally finds his way to a hidden refuge cut into the hills near Adullam. A cave. And here, alone in the darkness, the full weight of everything finally settles onto him. This is not a palace. There are no servants here. No banquets. No cheering crowds. No royal chamber to rest in. Just cold stone. Dim shadows. And silence. Water drips somewhere deep inside the rock. The air is cold and damp, carrying none of the warmth David once knew inside the palace walls. The same hands that once swung Goliath's sword now grip bare rock. The same feet that once walked through cheering crowds now stand in dirt and shadow. David has fallen from the height of glory into the depth of survival. But this cave, as dark and lonely as it feels, is about to become something far greater than a hiding place. Word begins to spread of where David is hiding. And soon, his brothers arrive. Then his father. Then his mother. His entire family, now tied to his danger, comes to stand beside him inside the cave. For a moment, David is not a fugitive. He is simply a son again, and a brother, surrounded by the people who knew him before any of this began. His mother studies his face, searching for the boy she raised among the sheep, and finding instead a man who has aged years in a matter of weeks. His father says little, but the worry in his eyes speaks clearly enough. They have not come because it is safe. They have come because David is their son, and some bonds are stronger than fear. David is no longer completely alone. But this brings a new kind of weight onto his shoulders. These are the people he loves most in the world. And now, because of him, they are hunted too. Knowing the danger surrounding his aging parents, David arranges for them to find safety with the king of Moab, entrusting them to a foreign ruler until he can be certain what will happen next. It is a small decision. But it reveals something important. David is no longer only thinking about his own survival. He is beginning to think like a protector. like a leader. But his family is not the only ones who come. One by one, others start appearing at the mouth of the cave. Men drowning in debt. Men running from their own troubles. Men who feel forgotten by their nation, discontented with their lives, desperate for someone, anyone, worth following. They are not soldiers. They are not warriors. They are not trained for battle. They are broken men. Struggling men. Men who have nothing left to lose. Some arrive with nothing but the clothes on their backs, just like David did. Others carry old debts and old failures they have been running from for years. Each one has a story the rest of Israel chose to ignore. One by one, they keep coming, until nearly 400 men surround David inside that cave. To anyone watching from the outside, this would look like a gathering of Israel's outcasts. The rejected. The desperate. The forgotten. But David does not turn them away. He does not see failure standing in front of him. He sees potential. He sees people just like himself. People who have lost everything and are searching for someone to lead them somewhere new. Every one of them has been cast aside by someone. A family. A community. A king. And every one of them is about to discover that the man leading them was cast aside too, and still found a way to stand back up. So instead of hiding among them, David rises. He becomes their captain. He has no weapons to arm 400 men. No supplies to feed them. No kingdom yet to offer them in exchange for their loyalty. All he has is himself. And somehow, for these broken men, that is enough. Think about what has just happened. The man rejected by the king of Israel is now leading 400 men who were also rejected by their own nation. The people society viewed as failures are the first to follow the one God has already chosen to be Israel's next king. David's entire life has been turned upside down. He once lived inside a palace. Now he sleeps on the cold floor of a cave. He once stood before cheering crowds. Now he hides from soldiers sent to kill him. He once carried the favor of the king. Now that same king wants his blood. Everything David built at Saul's side has been stripped away, piece by piece. But something new is beginning to take shape. Something Saul never saw coming. A fugitive is slowly becoming a leader. A hunted man is becoming a commander. And 400 broken men are becoming the foundation of something far bigger than any of them yet understand. Tonight, inside the quiet darkness of the cave of Adullam, David sits surrounded by the men who now call him their leader. Outside these walls, Saul's soldiers are still searching. Still hunting. Still determined to end David's life before it ever has the chance to become what it was always meant to be. David has no palace anymore. No throne. No crown. But inside this cave, something is happening that Saul's entire army cannot stop, and cannot even see. God is not finished with David. Everything comfortable has been stripped away from him. But in its place, something is quietly being built that no earthly king will ever be able to tear down. David does not know what tomorrow will bring. He does not know how long he will have to run, how many more caves he will have to sleep in, or how many more narrow escapes still lie ahead of him. But one thing is becoming impossible to ignore. This cave is not the end of David's story. It is only the beginning. And the greatest test of his life is still waiting for him, somewhere in the shadows ahead. What happens next? Will David finally rise against Saul, or will he continue to wait on God's timing? Find out in part 4 of David's story. If you've been following David's journey, subscribe so you don't miss the next chapter. And don't forget to like, share, and comment, tell me what you think David should do next. The story continues.